So, is One Punch Man Season 3 saved? That is the question that a lot of people will be asking, because a lot of people have been saying that this newest episode, episode 5, that just came out, is what they're saving all the budget for. Apparently, they were saving all the budget for this episode, and this is where it starts to get peak, and this is where One Punch Man is saved. It's revived. It's not mid anymore. Is that the case? Well, I'll go ahead and tell you. I don't think so. And I'll explain why. So, first of all, let's address the rhinoceros. And that rhinoceros is the One Punch Man Season 3 animation. That is the crux of all of the criticism and hate that the new season gets. It's all pretty much based around the animation. See, there's a certain level of animation that we have come to expect. And this is because of, all the improvements in technology and things that make the lives of animators easier. And I'm sure you've heard of the sliding Garo PNG meme, or the meme of One Frame Man. And that just goes to show that most people typically agree that the animation is just not up to par. It's not really acceptable, especially for an anime that's so beloved, an IP that's so beloved, and the amount of time that we had to wait for it. It was years, And so when we wait that long and we get a subpar product, of course people are going to be angry. I think that the anger should be directed not towards the staff, not towards the director, but really at the higher-ups, the Bandai Namco, whoever the hell. And basically whatever slimy little goblin that decided, hey, let's take this director that has never really done action anime before for a anime that is almost entirely action-based. Let's take that guy, who, I don't know if you know, but he did have some prominence in another area of anime, let's say the more naughty side of anime, if you will. So they gave this director and team a project that was out of their realm of expertise. And so it's no wonder why that we got this the way that it is. Some little goblin that basically said, oh, this guy, we can choose this guy, we can pay him not as much, and we'll give him one of the most beloved IPs we have, although he has no experience in this area of anime. And so we fast forward to season 3, and for the first 4 episodes, I really have to say they were just unremarkable, and the animation was bad. It was actually bad. There's this one section where in one of the episodes for about 2 minutes straight, there's no animation. It's just PNGs, and they're just like, they're going across the screen. It's so bizarre seeing it, because, you expected it to be at least as good as season 2. Which people didn't like as much as season 1. This episode 5, is focused on Garou and the Monster Association. And before I get into, what I didn't like about the episode, I'll actually speak about what I did like. So one thing that I liked about the new One Punch Man episode 5, was the plot. I thought the plot of the newest episode was actually pretty fucking good. It was interesting. I like Garou a lot. He's one of the more interesting characters in the show, if not the most interesting character in the show. And he goes to the Monster Association, and he basically gets destroyed, but he keeps getting back up, and he keeps, bypassing his limits, and he keeps growing stronger and stronger in such like a small amount of time. And eventually he gets down to the lower levels where one of the bosses, if not the big boss of the Monster Association, Gyoro, he basically wants to turn Garo into a monster because he sees how much potential he has for growth, and how if he became a monster, he would be, a god-tier threat or something like that. I liked the plot. I thought it was cool. Monster Association's interesting. Garo's interesting. It's a W. Now, let me move on to what I did not enjoy about the episode. Big surprise, it was the animation. Now, I will say this. The animation is actually better than it was, which isn't saying too much because it was like the bare minimum for the first 4 episodes. Like it was actually just terrible. So in this episode, we actually get a lot of fight scenes, more than any in the whole season, and that's why people are excited. And in my opinion, I thought it was just underbaked. One example that I have is the whole Pochi fight with Garu. You know, like this big dog beast creature that's really powerful. There's a part in the fight where they're in this little like arena area, Garu and Pochi, and you see Pochi from a top-down perspective, but there's no detail. It's just shadow. And they do that. I feel like they've done that like quite a lot, where they just don't add as much detail as they should. This is nitpicking, but I don't really care. There's a certain part in this episode where Garu jumps and then he lands on, an object. Instead of us seeing him jumping up into the air and like the arc that he takes, and like he maybe does a little flip or spin, for cool effect. None of that. It's just it's like a cut, so we don't see the full range of motion animated. And it's just disappointing. I would say this is pretty disappointing because this is not the first time this has happened where it genuinely had potential and people were so excited for it. And one example that I think about all the time is Uzumaki, and how a similar situation happened where the higher-ups just fuck the staff over and they give them almost an impossible task with, like scraps. I liked the first episode of Uzumaki. They did a great job, but it just went downhill from there. And the animation was shit. And it just ruined it completely. And no one talks about it or really fucks with it. Which sucks, because it's one of the best manga I've ever read. Anyway, I guess this is a doomer video because I don't believe that things will get better for One Punch Man. It seems like, it's just too far gone now, and people have already made up their minds, and we shouldn't be accepting this anyway. We waited this long, it's this popular of an IP, and we get a half-baked product. Really shouldn't be appreciating that. We should definitely just say what it is. It's mid, and not blame the studio or the director, but the higher-ups, because those little greedy bastards will do anything to get a extra couple dollars, even at the expense of, One Punch Man Season 3. So yeah, the newest episode of One Punch Man was okay. It was alright. By the standard of anime that we have now, it wasn't good at all, really.